show live with the amazing Katrina Wurm. This show is all about shining a light on female founders and women doing extraordinary things in business. And Katrina definitely ticks that box. So hi, Katrina. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Great. Thanks, Jules. Thanks for having me.
My absolute pleasure. So let's start off by telling everybody why you called Stress-Free Supermums, because I don't know whether anyone asks you that, and then what you actually do. What's your why?
So Stress-Free Supermum was initially, I wanted to call it something like, Be Selfish Mums or something like that. But the coach I was working, business coach I had at the time said, look, mums aren't going to go for that. So I really wanted to highlight that we can do it all and be it all, but we just need some help to get there. So it was really like, let's step into our own power. Let's be stress-free. We all know we're super mums anyway, so let's highlight that fact. And my why really started many, many years ago when my son was attending 3 different schools in a week.
Right.
So we would spend 2 days at one school, 2 days at another school, and 1 day at another school.
Oh my God, talk about stress.
And I was working full time. So had to be super, super organised and had to have everything running on rails. And the school principal reached out to me and said at one of the schools, which was a specialist school, and said, look, we're watching what you're doing.
And wondering how the hell you're doing it.
A little bit of that. But more, can you help other parents or other mums when they first come to us? Because normally they would come to this school after a diagnosis. So that's where it started, was just supporting and helping other mums really look at this new life they were stepping into. So it really started with kids who are neurodiverse. So just supporting other mums post-diagnosis and just working out how they were going to run their family as well as work. So what I do is I support mums who are working, literally balance that work life. So balance not only their professional life, but their personal life as well, so that they actually can still be them. Because as mums, we get lost in the process somewhere, especially when you're working, trying to run a household.
Yep.
And I had so many mums reaching out to me saying, oh, look, no, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll travel tomorrow, or I will learn a new language tomorrow, or I'll paint again tomorrow, or I'll learn a new craft tomorrow. And there's no tomorrow. And I just wanted mums to be working on their passion and to doing what lights them up and brings joy into their life today. So what we do with mums is bring white space into their week, which is literally time that they plan for themselves.
And how do you do that, though, in a life where, I know you don't just work with new mums, so some have got 2 or 3 kids, one who might be neurospicy, and they're holding down a full-time job. Like, how do you find that white space?
So we bring standard operating procedures into the household.
Oh, I love it. How do you do that?
Well, I've been in corporate now for over 30 years, ex-military, also grew up in a military household. So organisation, structure, some might call it being anal, but that's me, that's my DNA. So what I can do is look at somebody's life, and what I get my clients to do is just give me a snapshot, write down for just a 7-day period, each half hour what you've done. It just has to be one word. It's not like massive homework. And then I can look at where I can actually group things together. I can look at how to make them more efficient. I can look at then helping them bring in planning into their week. So, things like meal planning, cleaning planning, housework planning, looking at planning, getting their kids involved. I'm very much kids doing chores for
Yes,
themselves.
and I'm a big fan of that too.
Huge fan of that. I am of the school that we send our children out into the world being fully functioning adults who can contribute to society. So I don't want to send children out into the world who are going to be a burden on society. I want to send children out into the world that are going to promote kindness and promote being good all-round empathetic people. And I think that starts in the home. So if we can have our kids cleaning, cooking, budgeting in the household, teaching
showering
them,
even.
well, it is, and it's all those life skills that we used to learn at school. We used to have home economics at school.
Yeah.
We used to, that's all gone now. And I found there's been a rise, I call them concierge parents. There's been a rise of concierge parents, especially in the last generation, because as part of my role where I work, I'm exposed to, 20 to 26-year-olds.
Right.
And I found a lot of them will come and they're expecting in the corporate world things to be done for them because that's what they've learnt in a household where both parents are working, which we need to these days because of cost of living. And then for mums to show their love is to do everything for their children.
Yes, and that has become probably more and more prolific over this generation. And it's kind of a disservice that we're doing to our kids.
I call it, I said to a client the other day, so when are you going to stop being selfish? And she said, I'm sorry. And I said, I'm that type of coach where I'm going to tell you, things that you don't want to hear. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, look, when we show our love by doing things to our children, as you've just said, Jules, it's actually a disservice.
Yeah.
Because we want our kids to fail at home. Like we want them to fail so that we can say, okay, try it again. We want to teach our kids at home all these life skills. By us doing it for them, by folding their washing and putting it away, for example, we're not teaching them anything. But for us, we get that little, dose of endorphins saying, oh my God, I'm such a good mum and my kid loves me because I'm doing this for them.
And we are so stressed because we're trying to juggle everything and do everything for them as well.
Yep. And just stop. Now your kid's not going to do it the same way you do it. Trust me. No. I don't go and open drawers in bedrooms because I know they're not folded in there the way I would do it. But that just gave me half an hour back for me to be doing something else.
And more importantly, it gives your child a huge sense of achievement that they've been allowed to do it. I remember starting with my sons and saying, I'll give you 20 cents if you vacuum the house. And they were like, oh my God, you're going to let me use the vacuum cleaner? And they loved it. And the same with cooking and the same with cleaning and learning how to do their washing. I still remember my parents saying, you're going to have to wash your own hair when I was about 7 or 8. Or maybe I was younger, and going, oh my God, am I allowed to wash my own hair? It's so empowering for kids, and we don't think about it that way when actually we should be.
And that's why I say we're doing our kids a real disservice by trying to do
and ourselves.
And also ourselves. And I also saw it because my husband and I both travel a lot for work as well. We've had au pairs. So we've had young people come into the home and live with us. And over the years, we've had around 10. And from one who didn't even know how to boil water, traditionally, au pairs come from another country.
Yeah.
And just seeing the lack of life skills in these kids, just teaching them cooking and cleaning and how to look after themselves, how to budget. We've had so many responses once they've gone home to their parents, where their parents have contacted us and said, what did you do with my child? They're amazing. And that really led me to believe that kids want this.
They do.
Kids need boundaries and they want these skills. They want to know. Like, I have no qualms. My 16-year-old's about to be 17. I have no qualms in him going out into the world.
No.
Because he can 100% look after himself.
Yeah.
And that's why I want mums to be able to take a step back and then concentrate on their professional career. Concentrate on what lights them up and what their passion is. Concentrate on their dreams, their goals, their aspirations, and let their kids concentrate on theirs.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And I also grew up in the military, so I don't know whether that's a thing. But my dad cooked, my brothers all cleaned around the house. We all did that kind of thing. And I know that my kids, I've got twins who've just turned 18, and they went away with their friends camping. And one of them said to me, "You know, Mum, I'm so glad you taught us how to cook because none of the other guys knew how." And you just kind of go, wow, imagine having to go, that's where they do eat 2-minute noodles and pizzas for years because they don't know how to look after themselves and cook vegetables and things like that. Now, you do something a bit special, though, that I have never seen anybody else do. And I definitely want to talk about it because you offer the first 5 sessions for free, which is 5 hours with a mum to basically help her de-stress. And I'm sure it does. So talk to me a little bit about that and why you do it and what's involved in those first 5 hours.
Certainly. So I always say that my corporate role actually pays me to pro bono coach because
Beautiful.
I run a business, of course, and I need money, but especially with coaching, the coaching market's been flooded recently, and
Yeah.
I see all these people coming out saying, I'm a coach. They've done an online 6-week course, and suddenly they're a coach. We call it you're hanging out your coaching shingle,
Yes.
and I'm now a coach and I want clients. It's really hard to cut through that noise, especially, if you're certified. I've got postgrad qualifications in executive coaching, so I'm actually a qualified executive coach. My background is human resource management, psychology, counselling. So I'm bringing a wealth of experience and multiple qualifications to what I do.
Yeah.
Now, coaching is all about know, liking, and trusting somebody.
Yep.
So I'm not going to say to somebody, come and work with me who doesn't know me. So what I do over those, and we do it if we can, a day a week, so 5 days back to back, half an hour to 45 minutes
Each
to
one
an
building
hour,
on the next, I imagine.
just building, just delving into what's going on in that person's life. So over those 5 days, we start putting some planning and scheduling in practice. We start bringing up what the underlying problems are. I can't fix it in 5 days. But
No.
at the end of the 5 days, really, it's totally up to that person if they then want to have a conversation about what it looks like to continue working with me in a paid capacity. So it's giving back, but it's also starting mums on that practice of looking at their week, planning for the week. We have what I call a Sunday setup, where everything's set up on a Sunday. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be Sunday, but one night a week we sit down and we set up the week. Because I don't want my mums ever to have that what's for dinner conversation, because they know.
No.
So really,
God, I would have done anything not to have had those conversations over the
I
last
don't do that
22 years.
conversation. The 5 hours really is to say to mums, look, I've got your back and I'm genuine and I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be a lifelong coach. This is not something that.
Well, that was my next question to you, was roughly how long do people work with you?
So we start off 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's a 3-month package. And then, people re-sign.
Yeah.
I've got one client who's been with me pretty much for 7 years. So I
think the other thing that we haven't really talked about is the idea of having someone who's got your back, who is somebody that you can talk to about what's going on in your life, and have somebody who understands it because they've been there with you for such a long time. So I can see totally how you'd end up, although 7 years is quite long. And I imagine it's gone from a baby to a bit older.
Well, it was more a change of role. So she wanted to get out of the current job she was in and move into her own business. So with coaching, people come to coaching with what they think the problem is.
Yeah.
And it's never the problem.
And it often isn't. No.
And it's funny, as soon as you move, as soon as you move, have a new goal, as soon as you move your mindset, as soon as you move your identity, I always say that you then have bigger and better problems. So I always want people, you should always have a problem. because it means
Right.
you're pushing yourself and you're stepping outside your comfort zone.
I
So
love
people
that.
who say to me, I don't have any problems, I go, okay, so you're settling. And they go, what do you mean? I go, I always want my clients to have a problem because it means they're pushing themselves. It means they're stepping outside. It means they're moving into the identity of why they were here, like what they were born to do. So I have clients who will re-sign because they go, oh my God, I've got bigger and better problems. And I go, hell yes, well, let's now work on that. And that's why, the re-signs, I have some clients who just say, look, I just want to work with you for 12 months straight up.
Yeah.
And I go, great, let's just do that.
Well, I mean, they're smart because really trying to change habits, especially when it's not just yourself you're changing, you're trying to change your whole family, is not something that happens overnight. It does take gradually starting to introduce new things. So, and I just think it's so lovely.
Little bits at a time, because you're on the journey. Doesn't mean your husband signed up to be on the journey. Doesn't mean your teenagers have signed up to be on this journey. So we have to do little bit by little bit until they wake up one day and go, oh, we don't want them to come home and go, Mum, you've changed. We want it just a slow progression. And that way you can keep it up as well.
Yeah. I don't think anybody needs to go, oh, and I need to make a dramatic change on top of everything else I'm trying to change. All right. So can you tell me, and you don't have to name names, but I would love it if you could give me a couple of stories of people that you've worked with and how working with them has managed to change what's going on in their family life.
I'll talk about one who is very close to my heart.
Yeah.
I had a mum come to me and she was referred by somebody else. So 90% of my business is referrals. And, just the first call went okay, but I thought there's something else going on. So that's one of my superpowers as well, to pick up what I'm not being told.
Yeah.
And then the second call, I am really honoured that I'm able to open a space where people can be vulnerable with me. And she said to me, I'm going to show you something I've never told anybody else. And I said, that's fine. And she said, I hate my children. And I went, okay. And she said, what do you mean, okay? And I said, well, that's how you feel. I've no judgment.
And you're probably not alone. We've all had moments like that.
And I said, okay, well, let's look at what's going on. So let's see where those feelings are coming from.
Yeah.
And she had 4 children under 10, all neurodiverse.
And was she working as well?
Yeah, and working full time. And, husband was away a lot. So I just went, okay, so let's bring in structure. Let's bring in neurodiverse. Well, every child really needs boundaries and structure.
Yeah.
Let's just put it out there. Children need boundaries and structure.
It shows that they're loved. That's what they are. Even though you feel like you're being mean going, you're not allowed to go, inside they're going, I'm glad she cares about me.
Yeah. So I call it brick walls and foam walls. So we worked together, I think it was 3 months in, and she rang me one night. So all my clients, have WhatsApp connection with me, so they can contact me at any time, and I'll get back to them, as soon as I can.
Yeah.
But she sent me a message, so I rang her and said, okay, what's going on? And she was in tears. And she said, I just had to tell you, I was looking at my children today. And she said, I love my children.
Oh.
Because it was just, let's take away that overwhelm.
Yeah.
Let's get the household back to being calm. I'm all about calm households. So I help my mums, with strategies just to take the adrenaline down in the household, just to calm things down. But I think that was probably a really big one for me, is somebody reaching out. Now, it was another one. I was giving a presentation, and a lot of my clients I've never met, because it's always
on
digital.
Zoom.
So I've never met.
But you do national. You work with women
international as well.
International, great.
Yeah. So I've had clients in Ireland and in England. But a lady reached out to me. She said, one of my clients, she said, look, I've bought a ticket to that event and I see that you're speaking. And she said, can I come up and talk to you afterwards? I went, of course, love you to.
Be thrilled.
And I had my son with me because I like to expose him to, what's going on in the world. So this client came up to me and we were just chatting. She said, "Can I hug you?" I went, "Of course." Like, I'm a big hugger. I
Yeah.
said, "Of course." So she gave me a big hug and she got a bit teary and she thanked me. And then we had a bit more of a chat. She walked away and my son looked at me. He said, "Mum, was she one of your clients?" Because nobody knows who my clients are. Like, none
Yeah.
of my family, when my door's closed. We have a thing in this household that if that door's closed, it means I'm on a call with a client. And the only reason the door's allowed to be open if there is blood flowing that can't be stopped. That's the only reason.
Good rule.
That's the only reason. Sometimes I get notes pushed under the door. But he said to me, "Was that one of your clients?" And I said, "Well, yes," because she'd said, I could say. And I said, "What do you think?" And he just looked at me and goes, "Mum, I love what you do. You get to help other mums."
Aww.
So it's not only when we're living our best life, however that looks to you. So when we as mums and as women respect ourselves and are living our best life and are putting boundaries in so that we can respect ourselves, our kids see that.
Yeah.
So our daughters are seeing how women should be respected and how women look after themselves and about self-care and self-respect. And our sons are seeing how you treat women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Around self-care and self-respect. So if we're not doing it for ourselves, we're basically saying to the rest of the world, disrespect me.
Yeah.
Because if we're not accepting ourselves and respecting ourselves and actually putting time into our week to look after self, whatever that looks like for you, it could just be I go for a 15-minute walk every day. However that looks to you, that's what you're then putting out into the world. I respect myself, so you need to respect me. And I think we've lost that as women. We've got so used to trying to do everything for everybody else, not filling the cup, not putting the oxygen mask on first, all those analogies.
Yeah.
We give them lip service, but we're not actually doing it. So with all my clients, I say, "Okay, what are you doing this week for yourself?" And they're like, "Well, what do you mean? I don't have time." And I go, "Yeah, working with me, we're going to make time for you."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I get them to schedule themselves in first. Because if they say, "Look, if you fall in a heap, who's then going to do all the other stuff?"
That's right. And particularly if you have got a big family and
Yep.
or you might be a single mum even,
Yep.
very, very
So
hard.
you can't fall in a heap. And if you're not looking after yourself, somebody else is going to have to look after you. And then it sort of rings home and they go, "Oh."
So who is your ideal client? Is it a woman in corporate or is it a self-employed woman or it doesn't really matter?
Well, it's really anybody who has conflicting responsibilities.
Yeah.
So when you look at women, in corporate or running their own business from home, it's really that whenever that mum guilt bites, whereas, "Oh, I should be here," or "I should be doing this," or "I've just missed, my kid's sports day again," it's really that. So anybody who's trying to juggle, I really don't work with that's a really bad thing to
That's
say.
all right. We'll forget you said just. You don't really
Mums,
work with who?
mums who are fortunate, who, don't have to bring in an income.
Right.
So traditionally I work with mums who are working
Trying to do the
inside
juggle.
or outside the home on a business and also trying to do everything within the home.
Okay.
So it's that juggle. It's that professional and personal life juggle. That's where I work the best.
And what sort of age do you normally work with them in terms of their kids? So do you work with people when they're teens, or it's normally when the kids are little and you're in hell trying to juggle everything?
Well,
But
really,
although we say teenager, you always think when they're younger it'll get easier when they're older, but it's not.
no. That's why I sometimes laugh and go, when people have got the terrible twos, and I go, "Oh." Especially if you've got a daughter, let me just put it out there, wait till they're 15, 14 or 15, that's welcome to hell. No, really for me, it's sort of my zone of genius really is those primary school years.
Right.
So when we're starting to get kids helping out. But it's funny, I've had a lot more people, I guess, watching now that I'm really in the teenage years, watching what I'm doing with teenagers, because our house is the house that the kids go to,
Yeah.
which I love.
Yes.
So, I'll have 7 teenage boys here regularly, and I'm the one that knows their secrets.
Yeah.
And I'm the one that they'll come into the kitchen and have a seat and just let me know what's going on in their lives.
Which can I just say is amazing, because most teenagers don't want to talk to anyone, but certainly not their parents.
I think all teenagers need somebody other than their mum and dad who's an adult that they respect, that they can go to and talk without judgment.
I love
that. And if you haven't got that, if you've got teenagers and you haven't got that, find somebody, whether it's an aunt or an uncle, whether it's a teacher at school, even a psychologist. I'm all into teenagers going to see somebody.
Yeah.
Especially these days, the world's very different to what we grew up in. Social media has made this world so hard to navigate for kids.
That's right. They call it the anxious generation, and I suddenly went, actually, that's kind of hit the nail on the head.
So find your children a person that they can speak to that's not you. And I'm very fortunate, and my son tells me I'm weird. But he said, because I find out things about his friends that he doesn't know, or that the other friends don't know. And when they eventually come out, he'll come home and he'll say to me, oh, you knew such and such's parents had split up. And I said, oh, did he say something? And he said, yeah. He said, we didn't know, but he said today that he told you 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's not my story to share.
Oh, so you're a vault as well. Aren't you fabulous?
Well, you've got to have somebody that you know that you can talk to that's just for you.
Adult and child, I think.
And just, naturally, if, there's any abuse or anything like that, it goes outside. But that's the same with my clients. Like, they tell me things that they've, I've had clients tell me about stories of abuse and things that happened when they were little, and I've helped them navigate through that. Even though I don't use my psych and counselling, I'm purely coaching, but I know enough people that now I refer them on to somebody.
Yeah.
And that's the same with clients. If I've got somebody comes to me, and it happened a couple of weeks ago, I had somebody who wanted to work with me, but just in those initial conversations, I wasn't the right person for them. So I have such a good network now. I said, look, I'm going to refer you to somebody who's, going to help you with that. I have so many girlfriends who are psychologists that I now use, because coaching's very different. And coaching, we say, look, it's the same as having, a PT at the gym. Coaching's all about pushing you a little bit outside your comfort zone, so you do that extra rep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not going to do it by yourself. It's really hard. We say, it's really hard to read the label on the outside of the jar when you're in the jar. So,
very nice analogy. I love that.
Holding a mirror up and saying, okay, this is what I'm hearing. Am I right? And silence is really good in coaching, because I had clients just go, oh, really? I go, well, what do you think? And they go, oh my gosh, is that? And then
haven't really had time to think up until now.
And it's just, it's having that cheerleader and having that person that's just for you, that you can say anything to, that's going to hold your hand. And I say to some clients, look, sometimes I'm going to walk behind you and push you. Sometimes I'm going to walk in front of you and pull you. And sometimes I'm going to walk by your side and just hold your hand.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful.
But it's really having that person.
And I love it. You are the perfect person for them to be with. Now, even though I could keep talking to you for hours and hours, we're going to have to wind this up. Just let people know, if they would like to work with you, where can they find you?
So just look up Stress-Free Supermum.
Okay, so Stress-Free Supermum singular on the website. That's .com.au, I think.
Just .com.
.com, and then in socials, you're Katrina Wurm.
Yeah, just Google Katrina Wurm. You'll find me. There's a couple of pages on Google. My katrinawurm.com.au is the website too for parents parenting neurodiverse children. So have a look on there. But Stress-Free Supermum, there's some...
Will lead to everything.
Will lead to everything. There's some planners you can download. There's my book as well on there that will help you get organised. So there's lots of resources on there. But yes, just reach out. Or send me a direct message on Facebook if you're on Facebook, or LinkedIn.
Amazing. Well, listen, thank you so much for sharing a little bit of what you do today. I just also hope that anybody who's watching this has learned something. Katrina is clearly the woman you want to go and talk to if you are trying to do that juggle and you're finding it a bit difficult or stressful, which I would say is 99% of mums. I just want to do a huge thank out as well to Eve John from Boardroom 51, who is sponsoring this show. She is all about helping women get their first boardroom position, and we want to see more women on boards. Please also check out she'sthebossgroup.com if you want to find out what we're doing, which is about making women in business more visible and connected. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook, or through the She's the Boss group on Facebook. I also coach, weirdly, how to become a woman of influence, and work with mainly self-employed women who are running businesses to help them take it to the next level and to raise their profile. And we have recently launched the Australian Women Speakers Directory as well, in an effort to try and change the stat from 30% women speakers to 50%. So we've got a lot going on. I hope you've enjoyed this show, and please come and join us every Monday at 10 o'clock Melbourne time, and meet some of the amazing women in the She's the Boss community. Thanks so much again, Katrina.